I'm saying a perception of ourselves, like often in our community. I'm sure I don't think of myself as extremist. I don't think anyone in this room thinks themselves extremist. But I'm saying a general opinion, a consensus that the West has kind of sheltered onto us. That how we're Westerners here. Granted, we're Muslim first, but we also live in the West. So with that mindset, often enough, the media, I'm sure it plays a role on you. Psychologically thinking, I don't think myself extremist. I don't think my mom and dad are extremists. My mom and dad are religious people. So when I'm in my room, when I see something on TV, something about terrorism comes up, instinctively I feel that way. A connection that is something Islamic, somehow associated with it. So this is not so much to talk about how can we not relate to extremism. It's more about how can we shun away from it, like bridge ourselves further away from it. I think it's true, you're right. The Prophet does give us like directions to follow through. But at the same time, to combat situations, and like he said it himself, like it's about, oh please, Ryan, shut the mic if you want.
You can finish, sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I feel there has to be other ways for us to reach out to people. This is true, you're right. Extremism is something we accept. But at the same time, there are people amongst ourselves that we feel like Islam can be extreme at some point. There's Christianity, there's Judaism, where there's plenty of extremism going on. So it goes in all respects.
If someone considers himself to be Muslim and extremist, he's far from the umbrella of Islam.
No.
So he's not part of Islam no more.
But this is not so much about that, it's about how people perceive it. Like how I look at something.
I don't care. He's not part of my religion no more.
Okay, that's fair enough. I can accept that.
So all I was going to say is that, well, Hassan's objection to this is based on that you think it's wrong Islamically to depict human beings, or
Yeah,
that's the objection?
definitely, yeah.
That's a universal
then-
objection a lot of people have to
So
this.
then, yeah, I feel like that would be the main objection in the Islamic world. And that's the problem with Islamic art historically as well, because you have, in Iran, it's not as much of a problem, for instance, historically, because of the interpretation of the hadith, because representation of human beings there isn't as much of a problem because of the interpretation of the hadith. And now you would say that those are orthodox Islamic interpretations, as much as they may not be yours or mine. So, again, I feel like that would be a problem in the Islamic
No,
world.
but that's a very important insight we needed.
I wanted, but that the interpretation specifically, as far as I know, it's people that allow for representation say that it's restricted. The restriction on images of animate objects is restricted to religious and not secular spheres of representation. And so by that, this is not something that you're praying with, or something that's directly religious. It's something, an artistic endeavor, which would be allowed in that sense. So that's an answer.
Please,
Yeah.
there are other hands up before I saw. I'm sorry, Mary. Yeah, Mary, please.
I wanted to piggyback on what you said about religion. You said that it was more secular than religious. So I do have one question, and that is, do you feel that this is marketing religion to people? Because there are comic books out there that are Christian comic books that do, I feel, market Christianity to people. So do you feel that this is a way to market a religion?
I mean, I don't think that's the best way to put it. This is marketing Islam. But again, I mean, some could make the argument that we're profiting then from Islam. It goes from one branch to another. But my question to you guys is then, how do we combat people that don't pick up stones against us, but rather take like the words and use it against us? So this is my way of fighting back. That's how I'm interpreting it. And I'm sure there are people that disagree with me. There are people that think this is wrong, this is un-Islamic. But I feel like this is a great way for us to like fight back.
Brian.
Who are the villains in this,
Oh.
and how are they represented?
The villains are, it's kind of funny. It goes back to the idea of retaining individualism and about the updating stones. So the main villain, what's his name again? Huh? Rogal. And his thing is recruiting the 99 and kind of like stopping them from changing. Or because the stones itself, they kind of evolve. And he wants to keep them for themselves, have his own like minion of 99 and work against them. And they're all dressed up in the same uniform. Very conventional. The girls black and white, guys black and white, and they work for him. And they're in kind of combat with the other superheroes.
But racially, was there anything distinct about the villains, or
No.
were they white guys?
No, I mean, it's a very, like, when you watch the clip, you'll see that it's a very, like, it's hard to distinguish between, like, there's a black and a white, and then there's, like, it's a very diverse cartoon. So at any point, you won't feel, like, marginalized because you're a black guy or a white guy.
One of the things is that besides the fact that the superpowers are based off of the powers of based off of the 99 names of God, there is no religious aspect to the comic books. There's nothing not even all the characters themselves, like I said before, are Muslim. And one of the things I wanted to respond to your comment. It is definitely true. I completely agree with you that it is our responsibility to act as good Muslims, and that's our one way to show what is Islam. But there are also people in America who will never meet a Muslim. Most people will never meet Muslims. Only thing that they will ever see is what they see on TV. And this is one of the ways that they get a lighter image of Islam, not what they are bombarded with on TV as us being terrorists.
Why do you care about those people? I
Because
don't care about them.
but they do affect us, though. They're the ones who vote people into power. And
You are a human being. You are choosing your own religion. That's it. So you care about them.
But then there's a question of dawah as well. You want to say something?
I just want to respond to that. Like, you can't just ignore everyone else.
No, don't ignore it.
I mean, like, the main purpose of this is to make the Westerners, to lower Islamophobia, make them understand that we're not just like terrorists.
In that respect,
another religion that's like,
the Imam, I remember last khutbah when I went to it, I listened to him. He has a group effort, right? He goes out, he talks to the local church, he sits down with them, they have groups, right? A lot of people objected to the idea, like, why would us being Muslims go to them? What do we owe to them, right? Similar to your logic, what do we owe to them? Why do we just ignore them and keep walking? That same mindset is what the Christians had when they were sitting there, and they said, they're Muslims, they're terrorists, why do we go to them? The Imam thought it was a good way of educating them. It's not about teaching them this is what Islam, the value is this, that. It's about coexisting. You talked about we can coexist. At the same time, if you ignore them, how can we coexist?
No, I told you to ignore people who don't want to listen even to you.
But this is a matter of reaching out to them. There will always be ignorance. There will always be ignorance. And a matter of living and coexisting. Please, Mairaj.
I think the other problem in the United States at this point is that Muslims are targeted racially. They're treated very differently than other people in this country, and this is one of the ways that people can see to combat that. And that's just a reality here, and I've done lots of research on it, so I do know about it. And that, it doesn't, in the end, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks about you, but it does matter if you are in jail for no reason. It does matter if you suffer from hate crimes. It does matter if you're killed because you're a Muslim. It does matter. In this country, it matters.
That's very true. Very true. Any other comments? Ashraf, please.
I mean, just to add to that, I mean, these are like very, very, complex questions. It's hard to come up with answers, but our identity is not, it's Muslims, but we're Muslims living in America.
Exactly.
So we have to care. I mean, this is just, I haven't been to a Muslim meeting in a long time. I'm walking in and I'm seeing this beautiful presentation. I'm like, this is, so good. We should have more questions like this that make us focus on how we can live as Muslims, how we can increase our role as Muslims as well as American society.
No, that's very true. Thank you.
That's what our Prophet was done too.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Feel free. We're still open.
I do have another question.
Please.
One of your slides you put that it was a relief of tension.
Relief of tension.
I wanted you to explain.
Oh, okay. So often enough, what we see is I'm sure there's people here who get upset at the idea of, there's so much hate out there for us, right? How do we kind of mitigate that? How do we deal with it internally? When I look at this, I'm sure day in, day out, I see all these stuff on the news about Muslims and about how much, they're doing this bad in some part of the world or another. Something bad happens, it's always first. Whether it happens in America or wherever else. So when someone does something bad, I remember there was the killing on campus last semester, and the first thing they wrote was he's Muslim. Not about his background, but the fact he's Muslim. No correlation with the crime, but he's Muslim. And that outrages me every day. Looking at this gives me peace of mind. Something out there, not everyone's against me. I'm not by myself in the struggle. And that's how it relieves my attention.
So it's just you personally?
No, not personally. There's
research to back that it relieves some type of tension?
Well, we're from Dr. Mustafa he says that his first and foremost thing is associating with positivity, because there's a need for internal peace within ourselves. And his whole thing, all this is an element of superheroes and just combat. At the same time, he's talking about it in a peaceful approach, how can we do it and kind of protect ourselves. And so he talks about relating with positivity, relating tension, and that's where we draw it from. And ultimately, he talks about from there going to reframing the idea of what it means to be Muslim and our changing our perception of it. So it's kind of a development, a progression. Right now, I want to show you guys a clip. Oh, Rayan?
I just want to say that in all of this, while we're talking about identity and everything else, what strikes me about this